Saitama looks back at the forest he exited a few minutes ago, only to see a ginormous fire tornado rampaging across it, blowing and burning away entire chunks of the terrain. And now the weather's gone wild too? They didn't predict this in the forecast. What's going on today? The Baldy says in an exasperated tone and prepares to head toward the tornado, but just before he can do that, a scream from the other end of the street catches his attention. They're coming from where Rover is sitting. A few people seem to have noticed the giant monster hound and started screaming for dear life. Hey, guys, it's fine. The dog's friendly, Saitama says before a figure flies past him and crashes into the creature. The figure swiftly bounces off the monster hound's nose and lands on all fours. It's Watchdog Man. Saitama has just brought a monster into City Q. Rover shakes his head, a little confused. I don't know what you are, but you're pretty strong if you survive that last attack without a scratch. I won't go easy on you. The hero mutters before attacking Rover again. The monster hound, viewing this as a game, starts running around the street and playing with Watchdog Man. Aw, great. Now I'm watching a dog fight. Saitama turns to look at the forest again, and again the tornado is nowhere to be seen. The weather seems to be back to normal, apart from the cloudy sky. The hero then notices a sale sign on a nearby shop and shrugs. If it stopped, it stopped. Maybe someone got to it before he could. Bang, Goketsu, Bomb, and Atomic Samurai all stare at the new incarnation of Phoenix Man. A crimson red abomination, burning so hot that everything it comes into contact with melts. Phoenix Man himself can't believe how much power he has now gained. He looks down at his hands before clenching one of them into a fist and turning away from the group of heroes and monster before him. He turns around and finds a nearby tree stump, which was sturdy enough to not be completely blown away by the monster's entrance after his resurrection. Phoenix Man raises a hand before punching the air in the tree's direction. In an instant, the stump, along with a huge chunk of earth in its direction, vanish, and a huge shockwave of hot air hits the group nearby. Bang looks at the damage caused by that single punch. Several kilometers of earth, erased in an instant. It's astonishing and frightening. If that punch had been aimed at them, they would have died instantly. The old martial artist sneakily moves one of his hands behind his back, into his back pocket, where he presses a button on a transmitter employed by the Hero Association. The button he presses is a signal for help. He just hopes someone powerful enough gets here in time, and that no low-ranking heroes show up. If they did, they would just add to the number of casualties. This monster is unlike anything the heroes have encountered thus far. The speed with which it threw that punch, the power of it, the heat emanating from its body. Very few, if any, heroes could hope to get close to it without burning up. Elsewhere, Boros and Tatsumaki have just finished their talk and prepare to go to the Hero HQ, but Tatsumaki's S-Class Hero communication device suddenly lets out a signal. A call for help. Tatsumaki looks at the device and her eyes widen slightly.
It's coming from Bang. But he's with Atomic Samurai, isn't he? What could possibly threaten that duo to the point that they're asking for backup?
Only one way to find out,
Boros says as he stretches his arms and back.
I suppose so. Let's go.
Meanwhile, Phoenix Man stares at the damage his punch caused in astonishment, before a spark of excitement crosses his eyes.
This body, it is unbelievable. How did I evolve so much with only a single resurrection? I feel completely unstoppable now. I don't know why exactly this happened. Maybe it was because of how much damage I received. For a moment, I actually feared I was going to die. In any case, Atomic Samurai, thank you for this power. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I gained it because of you. You granted me the strength I need to finally take down the Hero Association in its entirety. As thanks for that,
Phoenix Man suddenly vanishes from everybody's sight and appears a few dozen meters behind them, as close as he can get without burning them alive.
I shall let you make a choice.
Everyone's eyes widen as they realize where he is. This creature is so fast it's scary. None of them could follow its moves at all. The Firestorm monster allows that realization to sink into their minds. His message is clear. Any attempt to escape would be futile.
The choice goes as follows. You serve under me as I create an organization to take over the world, or you die. If you choose to die, well, you die. If you choose to serve me, I will make you executives in my organization, and I shall grant you a means to become monsters like me. With me as the leader, we shall recruit more heroes and monsters and eventually create a great organization to rule over the world and bring upon a heaven on earth the likes of which has never been seen before.
Phoenix Man finishes his speech, but to his surprise, the heroes present don't look amused. Nor are they clapping. They don't seem like they'll be willing to accept the deal. Even Goketsu looks at the bird monster a bit weirdly. Fine. These people aren't worth it anyway. He'll just kill them and move on. Phoenix Man raises an arm and winds up a punch, intending to blow all four of them into oblivion.
Alright, be that way. I hope you can ponder over your choices in the afterlife.
Just then, someone comes flying at the battlefield from the sky. A large figure crashes in between the heroes and Phoenix Man. For a moment, Bang thinks it was someone like Darkshine or Tank Top Master. But as the dust settles, he sees that the newcomer has blue, shell-like skin and bright spiky hair. For a moment, he thinks that this might be the new guy who joined the S-Class recently. But upon further inspection, though there is a lot of resemblance, this is clearly a monster. Not good. They're already in enough trouble as it is with the Phoenix creature. They don't need any more threats showing up. The blue-skinned monster stands up slowly and looks around. He takes the situation in before his single eye settles on Phoenix Man.
I take it he is the reason you sent out a distress call, Silverfang?
The monster asks while examining the fiery creature standing before him. Bang furrows his eyebrows.
How do you know about the signal? You'd need to have a Hero Association communicator for that.
The old man says before he hears a voice behind him.
Hey! Why did you just leave me on the cliffside? I thought we were going together.
The second-ranked S-Class hero flies past Bang's group and floats right in front of Boros with an angry expression on her face.
You're the one who refused to let me carry you as I jumped from the canyon because, and I quote, "It would be embarrassing." You're at fault here, not me.
Can you imagine how humiliating that would have been for me? Being carried here like some damsel? No thank you.
Boros rolls his eye.
What was I supposed to do? Slow down when there are heroes who are possibly about to die?
Tatsumaki opens her mouth to speak, but she can't find any rebuttal.
Fine. It doesn't seem like I missed anything anyway.
The Esper says before Bang calls out to her.
Terrible tornado. You know this monster?
Tatsumaki peers over Boros' shoulder and looks at the old man. He looks exhausted and banged up.
I do. The two of us will handle things here. You three scram and get yourselves to a hospital or something.
The Esper says before turning to look at Goketsu, who's standing by and simply waiting to see what'll happen next. By now, the monster has recognized Boros as the alien who killed Orochi and wiped out the Monster Association all on his own. And for some reason, he's with the second-ranked hero. Things are not looking good for Goketsu. Right now, there are 3 creatures before him who could end him in an instant. The giant's life is in very serious danger. He's feeling cautious to say the least.
What's the deal with this guy?
Tatsumaki asks Bang's group while looking at Goketsu.
He's a dragon-level monster. On the stronger end, too. Be cautious with him.
Are you forgetting who I am? A mere dragon-level threat won't even scratch me. Watch.
She declares confidently and raises a finger before pointing it at Goketsu.
Hold on.
Boros places a hand on her arm and lowers it back to her side.
I want to keep that thing alive for a bit. I recognize him. He was with that monster association I told you about. A few of their members had some information I want. He might be one of them.
Tatsumaki raises an eyebrow.
What are you talking about?
I'll explain later in more detail, but for now, just know that there is an entity which calls itself God. The leader of the Monster Association had something to do with it, and one of the association's executives also had some knowledge of it. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to take either one of them alive. I'm hoping this guy might know something.
Tatsumaki looks at Boros, understandably confused, to which the alien sighs.
Look, I told you I'll explain later. Please just keep him alive for now.
He asks Tatsumaki, and after a moment of thought, she nods.
Okay. And since you only need him to remain alive long enough to talk, it's alright if I mangle his limb so he can't get away, right?
The green-haired Esper asks, and before Boros can respond, she raises one of her fingers and twirls it in the air. At that moment, Goketsu's arms and legs twist in an unnatural way and are completely broken. The giant groans in pain and collapses to the ground, unable to make a move.
That's fine with me.
Boros says before turning to Bang, Bomb, and Atomic, who are still standing nearby.
Didn't you hear what Tornado said? Go get your wounds treated.
The 3 men look at the situation. Tatsumaki clearly has trust for this monster, and she was easily able to mangle Goketsu, so things seem to be under control now. They should be good to leave. There's just one thing they need to warn the duo about. Atomic Samurai raises his head to meet Boros' gaze. Be careful with that fire monster. His ability allows him to come back to life from the brink of death stronger than before. His appearance changes and his power grows wildly. We sliced him into pieces and he came back. I burned him into ash and he still came back. You need to somehow find a way to deal with him without killing him. Boros' eye widens slightly. The ability to overcome death and gain power from mortal injuries. This could be interesting. Meanwhile, Phoenix Man has been observing the 2 newcomers ever since their arrival. The first opponent he notes is, of course, Tatsumaki, the number 2 hero, one of the biggest obstacles to his plans. Though, with this newfound power of his, the flame monster is relatively confident in his ability to take her down. Now, the other opponent he has to face is a bit more worrisome. Phoenix Man immediately recognizes him as the alien who destroyed the Monster Association and flipped a continent. He was nearby during the battle after all. This guy is clearly dangerous.
Are you done bickering amongst each other? I'm getting bored here.
The flame monster's voice catches everyone's attention. Boros turns to the 3 injured men behind his back.
Thanks for the info. Now go already.
They nod and start walking away. At the same time, Tatsumaki floats a few meters closer to Phoenix Man.
Hey, Boros. You got all the fun with that water monster, so this fire creature is mine. Got it?
Sure. Just don't die. I can sense that he's quite powerful.
Boros answers. He's not too concerned with not going first here. If Tatsumaki beats this monster, it means he wouldn't have been a worthy opponent for him anyway. In response to this, Tatsumaki smirks and raises her hands.
I'm well aware. You're not the only one who can sense energy here.
Shield, now!
Boros shouts to the Esper, confusing her for a moment before she sees Phoenix Man's fist appear mere inches away from her face. In a fraction of a millisecond, the monster closed the distance between them and is aiming to take her head off right off the bat. Boros prepares to jump to Tatsumaki's rescue, but at the last possible moment, the Esper manages to manifest a shield of energy. The flame creature's punch collides with the green bubble around Tatsumaki and sends it flying. The Esper groans in pain as her body is rocked inside her shield. Before she can stop her momentum, Phoenix Man appears behind her and kicks the bubble, instantly making it switch direction and fly the other way. Tatsumaki is forced to pour a lot of power into her defense as Phoenix Man catches up and punches the bubble once again. He starts flying around the battlefield at insane speeds, bouncing Tatsumaki's bubble around. With each blow, the Esper feels her shield getting chipped away. On top of that, with each change in direction, her body crashes into the inside of her shield. Within just a single second, Phoenix Man performs over 1,000 punches and kicks on the energy ball and leaves Tatsumaki badly bruised and beaten. However, the Esper is not one to go down without a fight. She screams out and a massive shockwave of psychic energy bursts out from her shield, knocking Phoenix Man away for a moment.
Who do you think you are?
She shouts before suddenly feeling her shield crack. Within the next instant, the flame monster's hand breaches her energy sphere and his fingers start reaching for the Esper's face. Tatsumaki looks on, awestricken for just a fraction of a second before unleashing another powerful energy wave and forcing the monster back. Without saying another word, the Esper extends a hand toward Phoenix Man and clenches it tightly, attempting to crush him with a psychic attack. To her shock and horror, the flame creature notices this action and moves out of the way of the energy before it can even manifest. Previously, Tatsumaki considered this to be an unblockable attack. After all, when her fist is fully clenched, the energy appears in nearly an instant. For it to be dodged so casually, just how fast is this monster? Before she can think anymore, Phoenix Man pulls one of his arms back and his hand catches on fire. He then quickly punches the air and sends a ball of flame hurling at the number 2 hero, who barely has enough time to put up another shield to block it. However, once the attack collides with it, the psychic barrier shatters into pieces. Thankfully, it was at least strong enough to scatter the flame so it doesn't burn Tatsumaki to a crisp. In the briefest of moments after the Esper's defense is neutralized, Phoenix Man appears above her and winds up a kick. Once again, the hero just barely manages to put up a shield, but the monster's leg is strong, and he blows the barrier to pieces easily. The shockwave from the attack sends Tatsumaki flying into the ground. She crashes with enough force to knock the air out of her lungs. Phoenix Man looks down on his opponent from above.
I knew I was strong, but to be able to defeat you of all people, I really didn't thank Atomic Samurai enough for forcing me to evolve like this. But alas, playtime is over. Now you die.
The flame monster says before lunging at Tatsumaki, who is still lying on the ground, completely stunned, unable to do anything to stop her incoming demise. For a brief instant, her life starts flashing before her eyes. That is until a hand suddenly grabs Phoenix Man's wrist.
That's enough,
Boros declares as he grips Phoenix Man's wrist tightly and throws him away from the downed hero. The bird monster lands on the ground a few dozen meters away. Meanwhile, Boros turns to Tatsumaki.
He's clearly too strong for you. I'll take it from here.
The alien says with a smirk on his face. This thing, it might actually provide him with a relatively fun battle. Tatsumaki coughs up a little blood as she tries to recover from the beating she's received.
Be careful. This is not threat level dragon at all. This is something far, far greater than that. He's far stronger than that water monster too. Do not let it grow in strength, no matter what.
She warns the alien, who simply gives her a thumbs up before turning to Phoenix Man.
Not bad, bird boy. Tornado over here is one of the strongest people on the planet as far as I can tell. And you didn't even break a sweat with her. You're pretty strong.
Just pretty strong, huh?
I know you wiped out the Monster Association, but man, at least show a little concern. And why would I do that? You are no threat to me.
Phoenix Man growls a little, but before he can respond, Boros starts talking again.
Wait a second. How do you know I wiped out the Monster Association? I don't remember sharing that information with any monster.
Because I was there.
You wouldn't remember me, of course. I looked completely different back then. But we did meet each other eye to eye for a moment before your attention was directed at another monster. Some shiny creature with a tentacle on his head. Really? Wait, don't tell me! You were that silly-looking bird that tried to sneak away without me noticing, weren't you?
Phoenix Man clenches his fists and a vein appears underneath the feathers of his forehead.
That's it! I will not stand for these insults any longer!
The flame monster lunges at Boros and slashes at his face with his large claws. He gashes Boros across the eye, and the force of the impact makes the alien lean back and turn away.
No!
Tatsumaki screams in horror as a gleeful spark appears in Phoenix Man's eyes.
Let's see how you fight without your sight, Cyclops.
The monster says smugly before his expression shifts into one of surprise as a few cracks appears on the claw he used to slash the alien.
What?
The smugness leaves Phoenix Man's voice as his fingers shatter into a dozen pieces. At the same time, Boros slowly turns his face back at his opponent, and there's not a scratch on him. The alien smirks. It is at that moment Phoenix Man first realizes that this is not going to be easy.
My turn.
The alien utters, and before the flame monster can even react, he drives a fist into Phoenix Man's chest, obliterating his entire ribcage and launching the creature away. The bird monster flies dozens of kilometers, smashing into trees, rocks, cliffs, and hillsides while screaming in pain. Soon, he crashes into a huge mountain hard enough to blow the entire thing into the air. This finally provides enough of a break to stop Phoenix Man's momentum, and the mountain soon falls on top of him, trapping the monster underneath thousands of tons of rubble. Tatsumaki looks on, completely awestrucken as Boros simply tells her to stay back and jumps after his opponent. The alien lands a few meters away from the mountain of rubble, and soon enough, notices that the rocks on top of the flame monster are melting. The entire mountain turns into magma, which soon evaporates, leaving Phoenix Man's body exposed. Boros makes a mental note. This creature is so unfathomably hot that just by existing he tarnishes the terrain around him. He definitely cannot be allowed to stay on Earth for long. Of course, to Boros, who survived in the hellish environment of his home planet, this is the equivalent of a match burning. Meanwhile, Phoenix Man struggles to breathe. His entire midsection has been annihilated. Bones, lungs, the heart, it's all gone. A mortal injury. The flame monster's body twitches a few times before regenerating the lost organs and standing back up, good as new. His opponent is strong, but now Phoenix Man feels new strength flooding his muscles. Now he can... A punch suddenly lands on the monster's face, breaking his skull into pieces and sending him flying again. Phoenix Man is launched thousands of meters, crashes through a few more mountains and lands in a canyon far away from any civilization. He groans in agony, but his resurrection soon kicks in, and his face goes back to normal. Once again, the monster can feel himself growing stronger. If this continues, he should catch up to his opponent soon, although it hurts like hell every time he dies. Phoenix Man sits up and looks at the sky above the canyon. Soon, he notices a figure rocketing at him from above and is able to jump out of the way just in time before Boros lands on the ground where Phoenix Man was mere moments ago. The landing seems more like a meteor impact as the force of it rips the ground and walls of the canyon to shreds. Phoenix Man looks on in disbelief.
What are you? How is a creature as freakishly strong as you allowed to roam free on this earth? Me? I'm the dominator of the universe, and at the moment, you are my entertainment.
Phoenix Man trembles in fury.
How dare—
A knee to the chin shatters his lower jaw before he can even finish his sentence.
Less talking, more fighting.
Boros smirks before leaning back and winding up another punch while Phoenix Man staggers backwards and clenches his broken jaw before noticing that incoming punch. He raises both of his arms to block it, but the alien's fist plows straight through his hands, breaking through his guard and crashing into his face, mutilating it even more. The force of the impact throws Phoenix Man out of the canyon and into a ravine. Soon, Boros lands next to him and gives Phoenix Man some time to resurrect, before grabbing his face and dragging it across the wall of the ravine in brutal fashion. Once the alien has had enough of dragging Phoenix Man around, Boros puffs out his chest and shoots an energy blast at him, blowing apart the entire ravine and sending the monster into the sky. After flying for a few seconds, the flame creature crash lands in a desert. Once again, Boros catches up to him moments later, giving him just enough time to resurrect and heal his wounds.
You're making this too easy. How many more times do I have to kill you for you to reach my level? Shut up!
Phoenix Man shouts and charges at Boros, going on the offensive for the first time since the start of the battle, much to the alien's amusement. The flame monster rockets at Boros and winds up a wide kick.
I'll make you pay for your insults!
Phoenix Man slams his foot into Boros' face, hoping to crack his skull as revenge for all the times Boros did it to him. However, the monster overestimated his current abilities, as his kick collides with the alien's face and doesn't even make him flinch.
You've certainly got the right attitude, but there's still a ways to go before you can make threats like these to me.
Boros quickly rockets his foot at Phoenix Man's face with a roundhouse kick, and before the monster can even think of trying to block or dodge, his head is blown into pieces. His body falls to the ground, and Boros patiently awaits for him to resurrect. It doesn't take long for the monster's head to regrow, and for him to look up at Boros with deep hatred in his eyes.
What are you trying to do? You know killing me is pointless. We'll just go on like this until I reach your level, and then surpass you. That's the idea.
The alien smirks and kicks Phoenix Man yet again, launching him into the air. The bird monster flies a few hundred meters before spreading his wings and stopping his momentum. Boros looks up at him with a smile on his face.
Nice! You survived an attack!
He laughs and lunges after the flame monster, who raises his hands and prepares to fight.
You're a fool!
Phoenix Man utters before the alien reaches him and winds up a fist. This time, the flame monster finds himself able to track Boros' movements and quickly flaps his wings to push himself out of harm's way, dodging the alien's punch.
I can see through your moves now, moron!
Phoenix Man declares triumphantly as he counterattacks Boros by punching him in the cheek. But despite the monster's confidence, the bones in his own fist crack from the impact with the alien's skin, as Boros seems completely unfazed.
You think I'm trying here? This is nothing but a warm-up.
The alien declares and sends a punch at Phoenix Man twice as fast as any of his previous attacks were, leaving the monster no time to react at all. Boros' fist collides with Phoenix Man's face and sends him flying. The force of the blow is so great that the bird monster visibly sees the sky around him becoming darker and darker as he flies through time zones and crashes thousands of kilometers away from where he was previously. Now, he finds himself in a distant tundra. Before he can even get up, he feels Boros' feet smash into his stomach and obliterate some of his organs in his spine. The battle continues, with Boros enjoying himself as he breaks Phoenix Man down, killing him over and over again in increasingly brutal ways to trigger as much growth as possible. And he does see progress in the monster. Punches that would have easily shattered bones at the start of their battle are now only doing minor damage to his opponent. How fun. However, despite this, he also notices something else. The monster's increases seem to be getting smaller as the fight goes on. Still, as the two combatants fly from city to city, time zone to time zone, climate to climate, Boros finds himself enjoying the battle very much. Eventually, the two of them end up above a populated city. Boros frowns, and Phoenix Man notices.
Is something wrong? No, but let's go somewhere else. I don't want civilian casualties.
This surprises Phoenix Man a bit. The alien is concerned about civilians? Interesting.
So, what you're telling me is it would be pretty unfortunate for you if those people down there in the city got hurt, right? Don't even think about it.
Boros warns the monster, but it's too late as Phoenix Man's fists light on fire.
Don't you dare!
Whoops! Phoenix Man laughs as he punches downward, and the flame ball in his fist is thrown at the city below. Instantly, Boros lunges at the fire, intending to stop it from reaching the city. Good. Phoenix Man raises his claws and prepares to attack Boros when he's distracted. Unfortunately for the monster, he once again overestimated his own abilities. Boros speeds up and quickly catches the flame ball before throwing it back at Phoenix Man, who easily dodges out of the way.
You think you can use my own attack to hurt me?
The flame monster chuckles, but soon regrets it as Boros slams into him with a tackle.
Let's take this somewhere else.
The alien shouts, before using his latent energy to propel himself through the air and speed up. The two monsters are engulfed in flame and energy as they rocket away from the city at massively faster than light speeds. Phoenix Man feels the air around them getting colder. Moments later, they crash land in one of the most sparsely populated places on Earth. The South Pole, Antarctica. Phoenix Man quickly throws Boros off of himself and hops back to his feet. But just as he does, Boros slams a fist into his cheek, knocks him to the ground and stands over him.
That's better. Now we can fight without me having to worry about keeping everyone out of harm's way.
Phoenix Man grunts in agony and anger. Boros grabs him by the head and lifts him into the air before throwing him into a glacier. The flame monster's body crashes into the ice and starts melting it at an astonishing rate. Before the entire mountain can be turned into water, Boros flies at Phoenix Man and drives a fist into his stomach. And then another one. He keeps punching Phoenix Man, pushing him deeper and deeper into the glacier until they reach its other side and Boros kicks Phoenix Man out of the ice. The flame monster grows in agony as he lands on the ground and his body slides a few dozen meters before coming to a halt. Boros lands a few meters away from his prey.
You know, even if you're not on my level yet, this is still pretty fun. It's not every day I get a punching bag capable of repairing itself so quickly.
Boros chuckles, and rage fills Phoenix Man once more. Both of his arms light up with a fire hot enough to start melting snow in a several kilometer radius. The flame monster turns to Boros and raises both of his hands into the air. He yells as he fires a massive beam of heat at his enemy. Flames as hot as the sun engulf a huge area as Phoenix Man gives all he has to scorch Boros alive. He continues firing the beam for a dozen seconds before calming down. Steam covers the battlefield. When Phoenix Man doesn't see or hear anything through the steam for a few seconds, he smirks.
Go to hell, you insufferable jerk. Make me.
Boros responds as a hand comes shooting out of the smoke and grabs Phoenix Man's head. The monster starts panicking and clawing at the alien's arm, but it's no use as Boros slams a fist into his stomach before letting go of his face and letting the force of the punch send Phoenix Man flying into another cliffside. Phoenix Man coughs up blood as he falls to his knees. He looks up and sees Boros slowly walking toward him in the distance. So calm, so nonchalant, it makes Phoenix Man tremble with rage.
You cocky son of a... I'll blast you into pieces!
Phoenix Man rages as his entire body lights on fire. His feathers heat up to a temperature they've never been at before. The glacier behind him instantly turns into steam as the aura around the flame monster intensifies. Then, Phoenix Man concentrates all that heat into his palms.
Let's see you survive this!
Phoenix Man starts punching the air, sending blasts of fire at Boros. The flame monster grunts as he punches the air thousands of times over, each punch sending a giant ball of blazing hot energy at the alien. All those blasts start colliding with Boros' body, causing massive damage to the environment and making huge parts of the polar ice cap melt. Still, through all this blasting, Boros does not even flinch and simply continues walking until he reaches Phoenix Man, who can't believe his eyes. How? How is this creature so unbelievably strong? It doesn't make sense. Phoenix Man shakes in fury and fear as he stops sending out blasts. It's simply useless. Boros looks down on his enemy.
Are you done?
Phoenix Man's only response is a defiant attempt to shove his claw into the eye on Boros' chest, but the alien easily catches and breaks his hand before using his other arm to grab Phoenix Man by the waist and throw him into the air.
I think it's time to end the warm-up.
Boros mutters to himself as a giant wave of energy bursts out of his body. He then jumps after the flame monster and appears right above him before punching him back down to the ground. As soon as Phoenix Man crashes into the ice, Boros appears right next to him and punches him in the face, sending him flying. While the monster is in the air, Boros lunges at him and delivers a fury of blows to him, breaking bones and obliterating organs before kicking Phoenix Man into the air once again. He jumps after his prey and punches him once again, sending him flying higher. Boros catches up to the monster again and kicks him even higher, into the stratosphere. Satisfied that he got Phoenix Man high enough, the alien appears above him and drives both his hands into his opponent's chest before letting out a surge of energy and sending him flying at the ground at groundbreaking speeds. Boros smirks and rockets down, flying past Phoenix Man's falling body and swirling in the air a few times before flying up at Phoenix Man and slamming a devastating knee into his stomach. Energy swirls around the two combatants as Boros laughs in delight at finally getting to let some of his real power loose once more. Phoenix Man screams in agony as his body can't withstand the impact. His feathers are vaporized by heat so intense that even he, a flame creature, can't tolerate it. His skin and muscle fibers split apart and his spine snaps. The bird monster shrieks as his body is split in half at the waist. The two halves of his body both rocket at the ground with momentum from his previous fall and crash into the ice, knocking two massive craters into Antarctica's surface. Satisfied with the results of his assault, Boros lands on the ground next to Phoenix Man's lower half and grabs one of his legs.
Heal yourself.
Boros says nonchalantly as he throws the monster's lower body close to his top half so he can recover easier. After a few moments of waiting, Boros notices Phoenix Man's body glowing. For a moment, the light becomes blinding and Boros has to turn away. When he turns back, he sees Phoenix Man standing in the snow, furious.
You...
He clenches his fists. Veins pop out underneath his feathers. His muscles tremble and his eyes radiate hostility like never before. Phoenix Man's mind flashes back to his old life. Before he became a monster. Back when he was just a performer for a TV show. Even back then, all the mockery he had to go through. People making fun of his downfalls. When his show shut down, people laughed. They laughed at his misfortune. Even after he turned into a monster, he wasn't respected. Other monsters laughed. And now this alien, even he is mocking him.
All the insults, all the mockery, this unfair strength of yours. I hate it all. Then how about you stop crying and actually do something about it?
That's it. The final straw. Phoenix Man lets out a blood-curdling scream and jumps high into the air. He spreads his wings and clenches his fists tight.
You! I will kill you! Forget creating the perfect organization! To hell with humanity and monsters! I'll destroy this entire god-forsaken planet!
This gets Boros to perk up. Surely this thing doesn't actually have enough power to do something like that, right? Phoenix Man screams and a massive flame erupts from his body. The monster tenses up every muscle in his body, and an orb of pure, concentrated heat begins forming around him. Quickly, it expands into a gigantic sphere of energy, which is bright enough to light up the sky in the entire southern hemisphere. Glaciers crumble and melt into water, which is soon blown away from the epicenter of the heat. Boros loses his footing and is forced to emit small amounts of energy from his feet to keep himself afloat in the air. Meanwhile, Phoenix Man continues screaming as the sphere of blaze expands. Back where Tatsumaki is resting after her brief but intense battle with Phoenix Man, the ground starts trembling. She looks up to see a huge light far away in the horizon, and moments later, a huge gust of wind comes from that direction, making her shield her face. Bang! Bomb and Atomic Samurai, having just reached a hospital, feel it too. The trembling of the earth makes the buildings shake.
An earthquake?
That's impossible. We're nowhere near any tectonically active areas.
Far away from anyone, in another dimension, the number 1 ranked hero is suddenly summoned by one of his comrades.
Blast! Come take a look, now!
What's wrong?
The earth, it's shaking.
What? You mean like an earthquake? Those are pretty common, you know.
No, not like that. I mean the entire planet is shaking.
What? How is that possible?
I don't know, but the epicenter seems to be in Antarctica.
Blast frowns. What in the world is going on? Boros looks on as the sphere of energy stops expanding and suddenly starts getting smaller, more concentrated. Phoenix Man condenses the giant bomb into an orb the size of a small building. He pants as he holds it with both hands above his head.
This is all of my power and fire condensed into a single attack.
There is absolutely no way you can survive getting hit by it. And don't even think of dodging. If this orb collides with the planet's surface, you can say goodbye to the Earth. Boros tenses up. This creature is not bluffing. The alien can sense that the amount of power in that singular point is more than enough to obliterate the entire world.
Now, let me see you block it.
Phoenix Man smirks and launches the spear at Boros. The alien stands still for a moment before a smirk appears on his face.
You really outdid yourself this time. This is your full power, you say? Alright then. I shall respond with mine.
Boros declares before landing on the nearest glacier. A moment later, a huge burst of energy is emitted from his body. Lightning radiates all across the South Pole and beyond as Boros powers up to the limit of his released form. His hair spikes up even more than usual as he bends his knees and braces himself for a massive jump.
You seriously think you can block it head on?
Phoenix Man asks in disbelief and fear. Boros does not answer. He tenses up his muscles and kicks off of the ground. The ice beneath his feet crumbles from the force as the alien rockets at the blazing orb and winds up a punch. He roars as he drives his fist into the power sphere, and a fierce clash between his hand and the intense power of the orb ensues. Boros grunts as he puts his all into his fist for the first time in ages and screams out before his hand breaches the surface of the sphere. Boros then sends some of his energy into the ball and ignites it, blowing Phoenix Man's attack into a billion tiny pieces. Phoenix Man can't believe his eyes.
No. No!
He yells, but before he can think of doing anything else, Boros rockets at him from the epicenter of the explosion and grabs his face.
This is getting way too destructive. Let's take the battle out of this world.
Boros says as he spins in the air to build up momentum and throws Phoenix Man into the sky. The bird monster's body is launched thousands. No, tens of thousands. Hundreds of thousands of kilometers away from the planet. He flies at speeds never before seen in this part of the galaxy and crashes into something hard. Phoenix Man tries to yell out in pain, but he finds himself unable to breathe. He feels so light too. Just where the hell is he? The flame monster stands up, and to his horror, he realizes where he is. On the low natural satellite of Earth, a celestial body Phoenix Man has seen so many times at night and dreamt of going to as a kid. The moon. A figure crashes into the planetoid surface nearby, but before the dust can settle, Phoenix Man passes out from oxygen deprivation. At the same time, Boros stands up, having just jumped here himself. He looks around the barren terrain before turning his gaze at the Earth. It looks so oddly peaceful from here. And of course, the moon does trigger some light deja vu for Boros, though he's never been here himself per se. A few moments later, Phoenix Man starts glowing and resurrects once again. He opens his eyes and feels that he no longer needs to breathe to survive. Thank God for that resurrection ability. Still, to be thrown to the moon. The monster never would have guessed that this is how his day would be going. He spots Boros nearby.
Welcome to outer space, Earthling.
Boros says playfully. Phoenix Man frowns and clenches his fist. He rushes at Boros, who easily catches the fist before breaking the flame monster's arm and shoving an elbow into his face hard enough to shatter his skull once again.
I will admit that heat sphere from earlier was impressive. I had to struggle a bit to deflect it. However, you needed to pull all your energy into a single point and still got outmatched by a single punch from me. Face it, you don't stand a chance. Yeah, keep talking. Once I've grown enough to kill you, I'll make sure your death is slow.
Phoenix Man declares as he charges at Boros again. But again, the alien easily kills the monster with a single strike.
That won't work. Why not?
Phoenix Man screamed before attacking Boros and getting killed once again.
Because you can't grow infinitely.
Boros declares as he smashes Phoenix Man's skull in another time. This goes on for a whole minute. Phoenix Man charging in, getting killed, resurrecting, charging in, getting killed, and so on. Soon enough, Boros grows bored of this and grabs the monster's face before shoving him into the ground.
What is going on? Why am I still not stronger than you?
Phoenix Man yells out in frustration.
Stop thrashing around and I might just explain it to you.
Boros says as he rams a foot into Phoenix Man's chest and presses him to the moon's rocky surface. The bird monster tries to break free, even flaps his wings in hopes of generating enough force to slip out from under the alien. Boros is having none of this, as he quickly grabs and rips off all of Phoenix Man's wings, causing him to scream out in pain once more. The flame monster groans a little more, before finally surrendering and letting his arms drop to his sides.
See, was that so bad? What is going on? Why am I still not caught up to you?
Boros sighs before looking Phoenix Man dead in the eyes.
19. Huh? 19. That is the number of times I've killed you already. Which means you've also grown stronger 19 times since the start of this battle. And at first, your growth was very noticeable. If I punched you from the start of the battle the way I just punched you a few seconds ago, your past self wouldn't have just died. He'd have been blown to pieces. However, ask yourself this. How much stronger have you gotten over all the deaths after you tried to destroy the Earth?
Boros asks and gives Phoenix Man some time to think. The monster looks to be in thought, but doesn't respond. Perhaps he's starting to realize what's going on too, but doesn't want to admit it to himself. So, Boros does it for him.
Feels like nothing, right? No increase at all. Well, that's not entirely true. You did grow a little bit stronger, but it's nothing compared to the increases you were receiving at the start of our fight.
This time, Phoenix Man feels the need to respond.
But why?
Why would my resurrection ability be yielding lesser results now than it was before?
Because you're getting close to the limits of your potential. I've seen it happen many times with various races. Do you have any clue how many planets I've been to? How many people I've killed? How many fighters have come to me looking for revenge over the years? I've seen and faced many opponents and allowed them to live for various reasons. Many of them eventually came back to me for a rematch. I got to see people struggling, desperately trying to grow strong enough to defeat me through various means. And I can tell you this, each and every one of them eventually hit a plateau. They reach the bottom of the barrel when it comes to their potential. Once a person hits their limit, they cannot grow any stronger. This is what has happened to you. I've also been told that your appearance is supposed to change every time you evolve, but obviously that hasn't occurred in this battle, which probably means that this is your peak form. You cannot evolve past it. You can grow a bit stronger, but not enough. You have more potential than most, there is no doubt about that. In fact, had we fought back when I first came to Earth, I'm not sure if I could have defeated you without resorting to my ultimate trump card. At the very least, you would have forced me to go beyond my current form and given me a good fight. But time has passed. I've been growing stronger. And while you are at the limit of your potential, I am only beginning to tap into mine. So no matter what happens from now on, no matter what you do, you can never defeat me. Understand?
Phoenix Man can't believe what he is hearing. The limit of his potential for growth? He wants to deny it. He wants to find some reason to call Boros a liar. But he cannot. The evidence is right there. He supposedly evolved numerous times since being thrown to the moon, but grew very little. Almost not at all. And what was that about Boros being pushed above his current form? Does that mean this isn't even his full power? Does he have something above the level of strength he's currently using? That's absurd, ridiculous. And yet, Phoenix Man has no reason to doubt that what the alien is saying is true. This unfairness, it makes the monster want to tear up. All the suffering he went through, all the scheming, trying to talk Garo into helping him, fighting the heroes and even fellow monsters, all the torture he went through in this fight against this damned alien, all of it was for nothing. Boros can see defeat in Phoenix Man's eyes and lifts his foot off of the monster.
I can see that you've come to see things the way they are. Now what should I do with you?
The alien brings a hand to his chin and thinks while walking around the moon near where Phoenix Man is lying. He'd like to keep this monster around as a sparring partner, but if Phoenix Man burns everything around him just by existing, that might not be possible. Besides, this guy is still way stronger than anyone on Earth aside from Boros himself, Saitama, and maybe King. That Blast guy too, maybe, who knows. But the point is that Boros would have to constantly watch Phoenix Man's every move and make sure he doesn't cause any harm, which would be tedious. What if Phoenix Man still holds a grudge and just decides to nuke the Earth out of existence when Boros isn't looking? That is unfortunately a real possibility. In the end, Boros decides he'll talk to Phoenix Man, evaluate his mental state, and then decide what to do. And so the alien turns to his defeated opponent, but what he sees is unexpected. Phoenix Man is still lying on the ground where Boros left him. He's not moving at all, actually. His eyes seem to be glazed over, like there isn't even a glimmer of hope left in them. Phoenix Man's entire journey was for nothing. His plans shattered, his pride ripped to pieces. He has no reason to live anymore. And that is reflected in the hopelessness in his eyes. Boros facepalms. Perhaps he went too hard on the monster. He takes a step closer to him, but before he can say anything, a cold chill suddenly runs down the alien's spine. His eye widens, and he looks around. Something in the vacuum around him has changed. For some reason, Boros feels a sense of dread as tingles run all over his body. Out of nowhere, a cloud slowly forms on the moon. Wait, a cloud on the moon? What's going on?
Wake up, my child.
Phoenix Man hears a voice ring across the planetoid. He slowly looks around and sees two gigantic legs on either side of the battlefield. And yet, despite this obviously shocking view, the monster barely reacts. Meanwhile, Boros is still looking at the cloud confused. He doesn't hear anything, nor does he see the massive feet coming from it.
Phoenix Man. A single hero is reducing your ambitions to nothing. But there is a way to salvage them.
The voice continues talking, but yet again, Phoenix Man barely reacts until a figure appears before him. A humanoid with a face resembling the surface of Jupiter. The figure extends a hand to Phoenix Man.
No father would ever watch their child suffer such defeat.
The figure speaks as it brings its palm closer to Phoenix Man.
Take my hand, and I shall grant you the power to make all your ambitions a reality.
Phoenix Man, not knowing what else to do, slowly raises his hand. He brings his trembling fingers to God's palm. And he takes it. A huge light erupts from Phoenix Man's body, blinding Boros for a few moments. The alien's eye goes wide. This power, he sensed it before. He could never forget it. God. A terrifying realization hits Boros as he remembers what God said during their last meeting.
It is only a matter of time before I find a vessel capable of holding enough power to kill you.
No!
Boros shouts before gripping his hands into fists. Damn it, he didn't even consider that God might intervene. The alien powers up to his max once again and lunges at Phoenix Man at full speed.
I have to kill him before the transfer of power is complete.
Boros thinks to himself and rockets at his foe. He winds up the strongest punch he can muster and swings at Phoenix Man. To his horror, a hand catches his fist. The light dies down, revealing a new monster. Phoenix Man, Cosmic Fear Mode. Boros' eye widens in shock.
Surprised?
Phoenix Man asks before pulling Boros in closer and delivering a furious gut punch. The alien keels over in pain. Pain he hasn't felt since his last battle with Saitama. The god monster then swings him by the arm and throws him away. Boros lands on all fours and blood starts gushing from his mouth. Quickly, he regenerates his internals and looks at the newly reborn Phoenix Man. His body has morphed back into something similar to what it looked like when he was in Brilliant Eagle mode, but instead of golden skin, it's covered in the vast void of space, filled with stars, galaxies, and nebulas all over his body. And the aura coming off of him, it gives Boros chills. This creature's power is like a never-ending ocean. Boros feels a similar sensation to the one he felt when he first laid eyes on Saitama. A bottomless pit of energy. Though this time, it was born not from hard work, but from despair and sorrow. Boros feels its pressure all over his skin. Phoenix Man raises an arm and looks at himself as if examining his new body. Boros can't help but wonder if Phoenix Man's consciousness is still in there or not. The monster soon clenches its fist, which bursts on fire. But not just any fire. Fire with the texture of the cosmos, like cosmic energy itself is flowing through it. The creature looks up at Boros.
Cosmic Resurrection Fist. Form 1. Desolation.
Phoenix Man utters before punching the air in Boros' direction, sending a huge shockwave of cosmic flame at the alien, who quickly takes a wide stance and brings his arms in front of his face. The wave reaches Boros and the alien feels his shell-like skin peel away. He groans in agony as his skin is completely vaporized, exposing the muscles underneath. Thankfully, the wave passes before it can deal any more damage to his body. Boros barely remains standing as his body regenerates. He looks around and sees a giant flat space around himself. Not the usual wasteland of the moon, but straight up nothingness. No stones, no craters, no dust. Just pure emptiness for hundreds of miles. If this were to be used on Earth, the effects would be devastating. Desolation. The attack definitely lives up to its name. Boros takes a fighting stance as he prepares for the fight of his life. Meanwhile, Phoenix Man looks at his hand.
Strange. This was supposed to kill you instantly. It seems I wasn't able to give this vessel as much power as I would have liked. Phoenix Man, you defective failure. Your mind was so broken that you couldn't even register what I was telling you. You reached out for my hand out of pure desperation, not actually knowing what I had promised you. You did not accept the deal fully. But no matter. This should still suffice.
Phoenix Man utters to himself. Though clearly, this isn't actually Phoenix Man talking. Not anymore. Suddenly, a black hole-like portal appears in between Boros and Phoenix Man, and a man steps out.
Yo, Mr. God,
Mr. Alien, my name is Blast. And that's where we shall be leaving this story off right now. Let me know what you think in the comments. Did you enjoy this one? Did it live up to expectations? And stick around till next time to see the finale of this arc and what happens next. Are Blast and Boros going to team up to fight God, or is it going to be a three-way battle? Who knows? Is Saitama gonna finally get to do something in the next part? Who knows? Stick around until the next episode if you want to see it. But that is it for today. I really hope you enjoyed this episode, and I wish you an excellent rest of your day. Goodbye.